Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back once again to Virtual House Church. It's a new Shabbat, and we are here in order to share the word of Yahuwah. I see almost 40 of you already connected, and as I always telling you week by week, it's such a blessing to be here. Sometimes, it's difficult to prepare the study. Sometimes it's difficult, to go into the technical details of bringing the virtual house church. But, despite all of these things and the challenges that all of us are facing day by day, we have to acknowledge and we have to recognize that it's such a blessing to be in Shabbat and to be here in Virtual House Church, just to be connected, to be joined together in order to study the word of Yahuwah, in order to worship his name. So I welcome once again all of you for being with me here in this Virtual House Church. Unfortunately, Jake is not going to be able to join us today. He's spending time with his family, as he was telling us last week. A new baby is coming to the family very soon. And he was writing back to me today that he's not going to be able to join us today. So I will ask you to keep Jake, especially his wife, and the new baby that is coming in your prayers, that everything will go good, and this new baby is going to be a new baby not only for Jake's family, it's going to be a new baby for the Mishpacha of Yahuwah, the entire family of Yahuwah that we are, all of us, in the four corners of the earth. So, I didn't have the time to prepare that much, to be honest. Yesterday I was traveling from the south of my country with my wife. It was a 10 hours driving almost. And, really was a true Shabbat for us here at home. We were sleeping a lot in order to rest our bodies, and didn't have the chance to prepare much the study. I'm being very direct and honest with you today. But sometimes I like it in this way better, because we have been facing similar situations in the past, that we are just letting the Ruach to speak. And I was praying before the broadcast, asking Abba to give us wisdom, to speak through me, to speak to us, to speak to our hearts about this portion, about what he wants he wants to show us in these times. And we had the time to read the portion here at home, and I'm not gonna get tired to repeat this, and it sounds repetitive. And now the Ruach I see showing me this these thoughts in my mind now, is that Peter and even Shaul was saying that they're not gonna get tired to repeat and repeat and repeat the message, because it's important in order to build up the body, in order to build up the people of Yahuwah, in order to remember everything that is needed. And I will say, praying to Yahuwah to give us the strength and give us the wisdom to study the word, especially, and this is the thing that I have been repeating you lately, is that I see in each one of the portions that we are studying here in Virtual House Church in this new cycle so many parallels. And it's amazing that there's so many parallels to what we are living today in our lives. That for me, it's mind-blowing to see, that what is written in the word of Yahuwah is so true. Even what the Shlomo was saying is that there's nothing new under the sun. It's totally true. We see it throughout human history, and we see it happening even in our times. And this is so important, and at the same time, it's so amazing, because it pushes to hold even stronger the hand of Mashiach, in order to walk in this way, in order to walk in this path that is taking us to the inheritance that is the kingdom of Yahuwah and his righteousness. So keep keep prayer for this portion, for this study, for this broadcast, so YaHuWaH can bring the word that he wants to share with us today. I'm just a brother, as all of you, and we are just asking Abba to help us and bring his message for us today. So, as usual we do in Virtual House Church, I want to invite you to go to the Virtual House Church website. Let me put this in the screen. And the idea is to invite you all to visit this Virtual House Church website. There are so many important information over here. And it's just for us to grow in understanding and grow in wisdom in the word of YaHuWaH. Virtual House Church, we know this already, was a project started by our beloved brother Rob Skiba, as you can see here, even in the same screen, back on 2012, that he started this project with his wife, Chile Skiba. And it's been such a blessing to all of us that are here in Virtual House Church, journey week by week, and that we have been able to be touched by the ministry of Rob and the message that YaHuWaH put in his heart, myself included, by being in contact with Virtual House Church. It's this site is a reflection of what YaHuWaH was doing through Rob throughout the years. And I think in my humble view, in my humble opinion, despite all the work that YaHuWaH did through Rob, that we all know that it was very important messages and very important truth. In my humble opinion, Virtual House Church, I think, is one of the biggest and greatest blessing that YaHuWaH brought through the ministry of Rob. The only fact that we are able to join today in order to study this word is because YaHuWaH put this in Rob's heart to start this Virtual House Church, to start this online study back in 2012. And it was because of that we are here today, because it was the will of YaHuWaH being put together by Rob. So, I think it's important for us to share this site. There's so many information that we are discussing week by week, and to study this site all together in order to be prepared with the full armor of YaHuWaH for the time that we are living. The time that we are living is so crazy. I try to see the news, not in the main media, just looking for alternative news. And usually what I do is just to see compilation of news around the world, and it's so dashy and at the same time crazy what's going on. And it's interesting to see how the word of YaHuWaH, the scripture, is fulfilling before our own eyes. And sometimes we can feel afraid of what's going on. I was telling my wife earlier today is that I saw some news that a volcano made eruption. It's a subterranean volcano in the sea, in the Pacific Ocean. And there was an alert of tsunami in different places, even in some places of my own country. So, we see volcanoes appearing all over the world. We see famine happening that we don't know if it's a real one or it's a different one. You know what I meant. But anyways, it's impacting the entire world. And this is part of what needs to happen in these end times. This is an additional evidence for us that we are living in those days. And sometimes, no matter that we know that this needs to happen and this has been written, and no matter that we know that we need to put our eyes on the north, in the promise, in the hope, and not in the things that are happening toward the establishment of the kingdom of Yahuwah, we are human beings, and Yahuwah created us with emotions. And this is a blessing, because he created us at his own image and at his own likeness. So it means that he also has the emotions, and we can see this throughout the scriptures. And sometimes those emotions, if they're not under and not subject to the Ruach of Yahuwah he has put on us, sometimes it's driving us to different places of fear, places of doubts, places of blindness sometimes. So it's important that we need to see and we need to look on those things with the eyes of Yahuwah, with the eyes of the Ruach, with the eyes of the Spirit, in order to be strong in the Word, in order to be strong in the promises, in order to be strong to fulfill the purpose of Yahuwah in our lives. So, before starting this broadcast, I just opened my scriptures. And it opened in the book of Tehillim. This is Sefer Tehillim, the book of Psalms. And I want to share it with you what is written here. And I think it's important. We're going to read the verse 33, chapter 33, verse 18 to 22. But, we're going to read also the chapter 34. I have been telling you already for a long time is that I used I adopted this practice that sometimes I open the scriptures and where I land is where I read. And this is exactly what I want to share with you. So I'm going to read with you. This is in the book of Tehillim, and let me put it here in the screen. We are starting differently today and by myself today. So I'm gonna permit me to do something different. And as I told you, just let the Ruach guide us today. So let's take a look. This is in the book of Psalms, chapter 33. We're going to start reading verse 18, and we're going to read until the end of chapter 34. It says the following. See, the eye of Yahuwah is on those fearing him, on those waiting for his loving commitment, to deliver their being from death. To deliver their being from death and to keep them alive during a scarcity of food. Our being has longed for Yahuwah. Our help and our shield is he. For our heart does rejoice in him, for we have put our trust in his set-apart name. Let your loving commitment, O Yahuwah, be upon us, even as we wait for you. Let's continue in chapter 34. I bless Yahuwah at all times. His praise is continually in my mouth. My being makes its boast in Yahuwah. Let the humble hear and be glad. Oh, make Yahuwah great with me, and let us exalt his name together. I sought Yahuwah, and he answered me, and delivered me from all my fears. They looked to him, and were lightened, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor one cried out, and Yahuwah heard him, and saved him out of all his distresses. The messenger of Yahuwah encamps all around those who fear him, and rescues them. Oh, taste and see that Yahuwah is good. Blessed is the man that takes refuge in him. Fear Yahuwah, you his set-apart ones, for there is no lack to them who fear him. Young lions have lacked and been hungry, but those who seek Yahuwah lack not any good matter. Come, you children, listen to me. Let me teach you the fear of Yahuwah. Who is the man who desires life, who loves many days in order to see good? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of Yahuwah are on the righteous, and his ears unto their cry. The face of Yahuwah is against evildoers, to cut off their remembrance from the earth. The righteous cried out, and Yahuwah heard, and delivered them out of all their distresses. Yahuwah is near to the brokenhearted, and saves those whose spirit is crushed. Many are the evils of the righteous, but Yahuwah delivers him out of them all. He is guarding all his bones, not one of them is broken. Evil does slay the wrong, and those who hate the righteous are guilty. Yahuwah redeems the lives of his servants, and none of those taking refuge in him are guilty. You know, I will never get I will be amazed all the time. I'm gonna change what I was saying in my mind. I will be amazed all the time how Yahuwah is speaking to us through his word. Because I told you, I just opened the scripture and I read where I landed, in the page that I landed, and there is so many connections to what we are going to read today in the portion. For those of you that already read the portion, you see here many connections to what we are going to read together in the book of Judges. So this is just to praise Yahuwah that he's speaking to us in different ways. And the most important message that I see here in this Tehillah, in these Psalms, is that we need to take refuge in him, that we don't need to fear, that all of them, all the righteous ones that are crying out to Yahuwah, he will deliver them from everything. I'm going to reserve what I'm thinking now for the portion, because I think it's important to see in the story of Gideon, because this is the story that we're going to read together today, how is much reflected to what's going on in our hearts time to time, and how this is connected to what we have read in the book of Tehillim. So before continuing, you know, as we usually do as well, I want to share the song with you. You know, I was looking for this song with the English subtitle for a while. I'm gonna, you know, my wife was helping me, and she finally got it, the video on YouTube. So I liked it so much, this song, because, you know, last week in the portion, we were reading about the different judges that Yahuwah started to raise up, different saviors for the people of Israel. And we need to remind ourselves day by day that he rose up a savior for you and me. And this one, you know, he did it twice at the moment he was born, and second time from the death. And this is Yahushua HaMashiach. And we need to remind ourselves that we need to follow his steps, that the only reason that we are here today, the only reason that Yahuwah has awakened you and awakened me to his truth, is because the amazing and the wonderful and the lovely offering of Yahushua in the tree. So we need to remember that Yahushua is our leader. We need to follow him. We need to take his hand, because he is the one saving us. He is the one leading us in the true path. And this song somehow is talking about this. So let me share it with you. Here we go. a beautiful song. You know, we need to be at the feet of Yahushua. As Miriam did, you know, she was at the feet of Yahushua. Listen to his words. And this is the how our heart needs to be day by day. Seeking face of Yahuwah through Mashiach. Because by his offering, we are here. By his offering, we are able to be saved. And Yahushua is our king, you know. He is the King of Kings. And Adon HaAdonim, Lords of Lords. And he's coming soon. There's no doubt that he's coming soon. And he's going to remove unrighteousness from this world. He is going to remove evil and sin from this world. He is the one coming to establish the kingdom of Yahuwah here on earth. He is the one that he is coming in order to give us the promises, the inheritance. He is the one showing us the true way, the way of Yahuwah. So we need to keep Yahushua, you know, in our hearts. We need to imitate him. We need to do it day by day, do all our effort in order to be like him. So, you know, with this spirit, with this Ruach, I will invite you to close your eyes, to lift up the hands to heaven, and let's pray together before continuing forward with this study. Yahuwah Sebaot, Yahuwah Eloheinu, we give the thanks to you in this new Shabbat, and we do it with all our heart, with our heart filled with your presence, with love for you. We want to acknowledge at this point and this time that you are the only true Elohim. You are the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and you made a covenant with them. Same covenant that you put together in the Har Sinai through Moshe, and the same covenant that you have renewed for our days with the offering of your Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, on the tree. We are humbled in our hearts, Abba, and we just feel love for everything that you have done for us, and not only for us, for your people through our history. Because in your will, you have keep a remnant in these days. And we feel your presence, and we are so humble because you have decided in your will to awaken us to your truth and to give us an opportunity to be part of the remnant, to be part of your people. Because through Yahushua, we are part of your people. With all the darkness that is going on in the world in these days, it's more than important to remain in your truth. And we ask you, Abba, in this time, in this moment, in this new Shabbat, that you can hear our voices, because we cry out to you, Abba, asking you to deliver us, to guide our steps in these times of troubles, to give us of your Ruach HaKodesh, in order to speak boldly of your word, to speak to the world about your truth, to strengthen our faith, Abba, and giving us the strength in order to continue in your path, in order to be that light that you intended for us to be. We pray, Abba, in this moment for your entire people around the world, that we can be ahad in you, that we can show the world what it means to believe in you and to walk in your path. In the same way that you did it with Israel in the past, and you saved them from all their distresses. We believe in your promises, Abba, and we ask you that you can manifest yourself in these times. in order for the world to recognize and understand that you are all over the world, that you are the only one to be worshipped. And in the meantime, we ask you, Abba, that you can strengthen us in order to continue walking in your path toward the world that is your kingdom and your righteousness. We pray for anybody of your people that is going through difficulties, that you can save them, that you can open the door in order for them to go out of those difficulties. For anybody that is sick, that you can go with your hand in order to deliver them and to bring peace and restoration to their bodies. Also, we ask you in this time for Jake's family, that you can be with his wife and the new baby that is coming. You know, that you can protect them in these times, that a new believer in you is coming to this world. We ask you, in these times, for your strength, for your light, that we can be imitators of Mashiach, that we can be that light in this world full of darkness. Give us of your wisdom and your understanding in this time of studying your word. We ask you, Abba, that you can speak to us today. Give us of your understanding and your wisdom, so we can see what you want to deliver to us, the message you want to deliver to us today. We open our hearts, we open our ears and our eyes in order to receive what you want to give us today. We pray to you in this moment with all our heart. We do it in truth and in spirit. And in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Amen. Okay, so let's start. So the portion today, it goes in the book of Judges, starting in the verse 6 to the verse 8. And it's the entire story of Gideon. And, it's an amazing story and study because, we will read it together. I'm gonna take the time, since we have the time, just me and yours and all of you, to go through the portion, and we are going to start read the 3 chapters, and we are going to see what the Ruach wants to tell us. But based on what I was reading before the broadcast, there are so many lessons for all of us in these days, and those are the lessons I think we need to take advantage of to understand how Yahuwah wants us to live in these times, how Yahuwah want us to seek his face, how Yahuwah also understand our emotions, how Yahuwah is patient with all of us. We will see all of that in this portion. So let me put the scripture in the screen, and we will read together, starting in the chapter 6. We're gonna read the entire chapter 6, and let's see how the Ruach is putting things in my heart. We are going to stop time to time depending on what I'm feeling, okay? So be patient with me as well. So let's start in the verse 1. It says the following: And the children of Israel did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah gave them into the hand of Midian for 7 years. And the hand of Midian was strong against Israel, and before the faces of the Midianites, the children of Israel made for themselves the refuges, which are in the mountains, and the caves and the strongholds. And then let me stop there for a moment, because, we see this happening all over the history of Israel, that every time that they departed from the way of Yahuwah, evil things were happening to them. And when I saw this, that before the faces, it says, of the Midianites, the children of Israel made for themselves refuge. It came to my mind immediately what happened during the Maccabean story, and also what was written in Matthew chapter 24, the words of Mashiach about the end times. that those on Yehuda and Judah needs to go to the mountains, to the wilderness. And what happened during the Maccabees is that with all this situation with the Greek Empire, and also later on with the Romans, they needed to go to the desert places. So it is amazing to see, this situation being a repetitive story. And I wonder what will happen in these end times. That maybe we are gonna be being pushed to do something similar. And we have been discussing this in Virtual House Church, and I'm not the one to tell you what you need to do. The only one that can do that is YaHuWaH directly to your heart. But it's so true to see that, how the world has turned to an evil place. And these evil places, we see it mostly on the cities, in the big cities. And I'm wondering when I see these passages, is that maybe it's YaHuWaH telling us what the normal situation, what needs to happen, and connecting this, with even in the Torah of YaHuWaH, we see the city of refuge that were outside these big cities sometimes. That when the manslayer were wanted to be killed by the family or some relatives, they were able to flee to those cities of refuge. So I'm once again, I'm not trying to push an idea with you, just sharing my heart that when I see these kind of things, just remember what happened in the past. And YaHuWaH, it is written in his word that he reveals the end from the beginning. And if we see these kind of things happening, that the people and the nations of the world are going against the people of YaHuWaH, because this is what we are seeing. And I'm not going to talk about the why we know here. It is written in the verse 1, because Israel did evil in the eyes of YaHuWaH. That's the reason that happened. The curses of Torah came upon them. But the whole situation is that they needed to flee from the persecution. So this is something that we need to put into prayer to YaHuWaH, what he wants us to do in these times of trouble. Do we need to depart from the big cities? Do we need to stay where we are? This is something that we need to put into prayers for YaHuWaH to guide our steps on what we need to do. And this is exactly what I see here. Yet because of the persecution being done on the people of Israel by the hand of Midian, they needed to build different refuges in the mountains, in the caves, in the strongholds, in order to depart from this persecution. So just an invitation for all of you, keep this in prayer, especially with everything that we are seeing happening in the world. That this whole situation is becoming crazier and crazier. What we are living in our days, what we have been living in these last 2 years, and it's my belief that this calendar Gregorian year of 2022 is gonna become even crazier. So we need to be strong in the word of YaHuWaH and be strong in the Ruach and what YaHuWaH wants us to do. So let's continue reading. And it came to be in the verse 3, and it came to be whenever Israel had sown that Midian would come up, and Amalek and the people of the east would come up against them and encamp against them and destroy the increase of the soil as far as Asa, and leave no food in Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor donkey. And again, this is exactly what I see is happening today. Those of the people that have decided to believe in YaHuWaH, to follow his path, that are not following the rules of society, we are seeing much restrictions happening in our ways, even to the point in some places to get food, proper food, as we like to get it. And when I see these foreshadows, I just it's amazing me how we see this is happening once again. The attack on the food, not having food for the people of YaHuWaH, not having food for the believers. You know, it came to my mind what we read in the book of Revelations about the horses in the book of Revelation. Also, the words of Mashiach, that famine will come over the world. If you have not watched the news and you have not heard this, you know, people are talking about a current famine coming to the world. You know, it's amazing to see how the distribution of products and assets all around the world has been impacted. And unfortunately, you know, and this is something that we have been speaking for a while already here at home, is that we have been grown up in a system that everything we depend from somebody else. We depend on the system instead of depending only in YaHuWaH Elohim, and how YaHuWaH is giving us, he's sustaining us through the same soil. And this wisdom has been forgotten, and only few people know this wisdom about how to sustain our bodies through what YaHuWaH is giving us through the fruit of the soil, the fruit of the earth. And you know, when we see this happening in the world, that the nations of the world, as we see in this portion, are taking control and destroying the food, it's pushing my mind to think how much we have relied in the world instead of relying in YaHuWaH. How the world has lost his path and not following the path of the word of YaHuWaH. You know, and the path of the word of YaHuWaH is much closer to nature, is much closer to the creation, because we are part of the creation. And YaHuWaH has intended this life for us in a different way than the system of the world has created all of this history. So, you know, for me, this is a kind of a foreshadow, but also a warning for all of us in these days, that when YaHuWaH is talking to us through his servant the prophets, that we need to come out of Babylon, come out of Babylon and the system of the beast, it's not only about the teachings, it's not only about the way of thinking, it's not only about what we believe. If we believe directly in the word of YaHuWaH, or we believe what they think they believe in the word of YaHuWaH in different religions. No, I think what YaHuWaH is telling us, coming out of Babylon, it means to come out entirely in the different angles and aspects of our own lives, in our dependency, in our work, in different ways. And you know, you can think, Juan Carlos, you can be crazy because we cannot detach from the world. It's exactly that. You are completely right. We are in the world, but we are not of the world. It means that we need to try to be as much closer in the way of YaHuWaH has intended for us to live than in the system of this world, especially in this time that we are living. And we see here the perfect example that, you know, the nations that were in power in this case came up and they were taking and destroying the food of the people of YaHuWaH. So what to do in this kind of cases? You know, we see the perfect example here in this portion. So let's continue reading. So it says in the verse 5, "For they came up with their livestock and their tents, coming in as numerous as locusts, and they and their camels were without numbers, and they came into the land to destroy it. Thus Israel was brought very low because of Midian, and the children of Israel cried out to YaHuWaH. And it came to be, when the children of Israel cried out to YaHuWaH because of Midian, that YaHuWaH sent a prophet to the children of Israel, who said to them, Thus said YaHuWaH Elohim of Israel, I have brought you up from Mizraim, and I brought you out of the house of bondage. And I delivered you out of the hand of the Mizrites, the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all your oppressors, and drove them out before you and gave you their land. And I said to you, I am YaHuWaH your Elohim. Do not fear the mighty ones of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell, and you have not obeyed my voice." So I think we should not wait for a prophet to be raised up by Yahuwah to understand what is in his heart. He did it in this time in order for the people to understand what they were doing wrong. And this is something, as I was saying during the prayers, that we need to be so humble in our hearts that without deserving it, most probably, he was so compassionate on you and me that he awakened us to his truth in order to separate us and to start this separation process. Because this is exactly what happened. I can speak you on my own experience. When Yahuwah started to awaken me back on 2012 to his completely truth, the complete truth of his word, it started a separation from the way of life of the system of the world in order to live according to his word, according to his kingdom. And I do believe that we started this separation process. We are not completely detached, as I said a few minutes ago, from the world because we cannot do it. That will happen at the moment that Yahushua will come back to the world, and he will cut everything from the system of the world, and he's going to establish a new kingdom. This is what is written in the word, and that is the kingdom that we're waiting for to be established by the hand of Yahushua HaMashiach. But during this walk, we have been coming out of Babylon. It's a process. We have been coming out of Babylon day by day in order to live according to the system of the kingdom of Yahuwah. And, Yahuwah decided to awaken us that time. It wasn't a prophet that came out. He started to raise up different servants throughout all these years. But he was directly guiding us, our steps, taking our hands in order to remove us from the system of the world, to remove us from Babylon, in order to get us in to the kingdom of his son. And that's why I was telling you, we should not wait for a prophet to arise to understand what we need to do. And what we need to do, and this is something that we were discussing while we were checking this portion, and maybe we're not doing it enough, considering everything that we are living today, is exactly what is written in the verse 7. And it came to be when the children of Israel cried out to Yahuwah because of Midian that Yahuwah sent a prophet. We need to cry out. We need to pray. We need to lift up our voices to Yahuwah. He will listen to us. He will deliver us from everything that is coming to our path, to our way. He will open the doors. The only thing that we need to do is to trust in him, to believe that he is able to deliver us. But most importantly, if we don't lift up our voices and cry out to him, nothing will happen. It depends on you and depends on me, that we need to trust in Yahuwah, that we need to lift up our voices and to ask him what is in our heart. I think a few weeks ago we were checking the story of Hannah, how she was so bitter in her heart that she was going to Shiloh and she was praying to Yahuwah because she was barren. And she was she had that bitterness in her heart that the only thing that she did was to cry out. She was not shouting, she was just murmuring, but she was lifting up her voice to Yahuwah, telling Yahuwah what was in her heart. And I'm wondering if we are doing it enough in these times. I can tell you, in my own life, maybe I'm not doing it enough. I need to start crying out more. Sometimes it's funny to think about it, because it's like being a child. A child, sometimes the only way that they are trying to get the attention of their parents is by crying. And it's amazing to see that Yahuwah is acting in the same way. He's not gonna get bored of us crying out. We need to cry to him to help us to go through difficult times. And we need to do it constantly. And he will hear us. So this is exactly what we see here happening in this portion. Let's continue reading. In the verse 11, and the messenger of Yahuwah came and sat under the terebinth tree, which was in Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezerite, while his son Gideon threshed wheat in the winepress to hide it from the eyes of the Midianites. And you can see here they were so afraid that it's impressive that they were threshing the wheat. They were managing the food, the cereals, in hiding it in order to preserve the food from the hands of the nations. That was the situation that they were going through. And throughout history, we know that this has been happening, even in modern history. So this was the scenario at that time. Let's listen, let's read together the entire discussion here, because it's so amazing, and this is reflecting our own times, what was in Gideon's heart. And it says in the verse 12, and the messenger of Yahuwah appeared to him and said to him, Yahuwah is with you, you mighty brave one. And Gideon said to him, O my master, if Yahuwah is with us, why has all this come upon us? This is a question that is being driven by emotions. And to be honest, he was so true to ask this. And even asking this direct question, Yahuwah was so compassionate. He was listening through the Malach Yahuwah, the messenger Yahuwah, that, if Yahuwah is with us, why we're going through all of this. And that's amazing things of studying the word of Yahuwah, because we know why they were facing this situation. And we were studying this last week. When we are going through trials, when we are going through difficulties, this is a way for Yahuwah to test what is in our heart. If we really believe on Him, if we really trust on Him, if we really put our hope in Him. So we need to look into the story, to this portion, and to understand that even Yahuwah is so lovely that He understands what we are going through. In this case, Gideon were going through difficult times, persecution, scarcity of food. A different nation was ruling over his people. He was totally broken, broken-hearted. And Yahuwah, the messenger of Yahuwah, appeared to him, even in this time of trouble. And Gideon spoke his heart. If Yahuwah is with us, why all of this is happening? Sometimes I'm going through different similar situations. I know that you are going through similar situations as well with the same questions. And let's continue reading. And where are all his wonders which our fathers related to us, saying, did not Yahuwah bring us up from Mizraim? But now Yahuwah has left us and given us into the hands of Midian. So, how many times and how often we have said exactly the same? How often we have read the scriptures and we have seen the different stories of the amazing and awesome power of Yahuwah being poured out in order to save His people. And we are wondering, what is Yahuwah? What is He doing in these times? What is this amazing power? All the stories that we have read and we have heard about Yahuwah doing His mighty work in order to save His people, we don't see it happening in these times. I have gone through these times of situations and experiences as well. Those questions has been in my mind and in my heart. And I think, this is part of our emotions. That sometimes is blinding us to see what Yahuwah is putting in front of us. What Yahuwah has sent us as part of His power and as part of His love and as part of His compassion in our lives. And even during those times of difficulties and during those times of doubts and questions, Yahuwah is so compassionate that He understands that what we are going through. And we have a Mashiach, that He went through similar situations during His life. He's here on earth. And He's waiting for us. He's listening to us. Because this is what He likes, that we are pouring out our heart to Him. We tell Him what we need from Him. So, before continuing, something that it caught my attention, and this is so beautiful in my eyes. It's that, every time that Yahuwah referred to Israel, He refers to the same Israel, no matter that different generations has gone through. We saw here when He sent the prophet, what was the message to this latter generation? Because it wasn't the generation that came out from Israel. It was a generation, 3-4 generations more after that to happen from Israel, from Egypt. And He was referring to them in the same way. I have brought you up from Israel. For Yahuwah, Israel is the same all the time. Throughout history, it's just one Israel. And He is referring to this amazing process of bringing them out of Egypt. And, when I read this, I remember immediately what is being written in the book of Jeremiah. Let me read for you. This is in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 23. And it's talking about the second Exodus. And it says the following. This is in the verse 5 of the chapter 23 of Jeremiah. It says the following. See, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when I shall raise for David, a branch of righteousness, and a sovereign, a melech, shall reign and act wisely, and shall do right ruling and righteousness in the earth. In his days, Yehudah shall be saved, and Israel dwells safely. And this is his name, whereby he shall be called YaHuWaH Sidkenu, YaHuWaH or righteousness. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when they shall say no more, as Yahuwah lives, who brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Mizraim, the land of Egypt, but as Yahuwah lives, who brought up and led the seed of the house of Israel out of the land of the north, and from all the lands where I have driven them, and they shall dwell on their own soil. So we see, Yahuwah has been referring to Israel, considering what he did in Mizraim in Egypt. He's referring in different generations, as the same Israel. But he is going to do something different I believe, in our times. That this greater second Exodus is going to be so great, so amazing, that for those of us that sometimes we have been having the same questions that Gideon, where is Yahuwah, that he brought these people out of Egypt, but where is he now? When, all of those questioning are going to be answered by this great Exodus where Yahuwah will pour out all his power by the hand of Yahushua HaMashiach to gather all his people from the four corners of the earth. So let's continue reading, because this portion is so interesting to see the correlation to our times. So it says in the verse 12, and the messenger of Yahuwah appeared to him and said to him, and this is what we already read. Let's go to the 14. And Yahuwah turned to him and said, go in this strength of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you? This is such an amazing way to answer the question of Gideon. Wondering what I could do with this kind of answer. I'm presenting all my doubts, all the questions that I have in my heart, And the answer that I got from the messenger of Yahuwah telling me, go in your strength, you have been appointed to save Israel. And, with all this fear and all this question about what is Yahuwah, Gideon received this answer. You have been appointed. You have been appointed by Yahuwah. Go in your strength. You need to save Israel from the Midianites. And it says in the verse 15, and he said to him, O Yahuwah, with what do I save Israel? See, my clan is the weakest in Menashe, and I am the least in my father's house. And Yahuwah said to him, because I am with you, you shall strike the Midianites as one man. And this is something that, we need to understand all as well. Sometimes we believe that we are so little, so small to do something for Yahuwah. That is totally reflected in the words of Gideon. He was totally afraid. He has a lot of doubt in his heart. He felt that he was nothing. How Yahuwah was going to use him. So, if we're going through those types of questioning about ourselves, we need to remember that if it's the will of Yahuwah to use you for his purpose, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, and what you are going through. Yahuwah, he will have patience in the same way that we see here having patience with Gideon. And he will use you if you are willing to do so. If you are not willing to do so, he won't do it. So it's so important that we give our heart to Yahuwah entirely. And then even with all the doubts, even with everything that is going through our mind, that we need to give our heart to Yahuwah. That's the only way that he is going to use us. Let's continue reading. It says in the verse 17, and he said to him, please, if I have found favor in your eyes, then show me a sign, and it is you who are speaking with me. Please do not move away from here until I come to you and bring out my offering and set it before you. And he said, I shall stay until you return. And Gideon went in and prepared a young goat and unleavened bread from an ephah of flour. The meat he put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot. And he brought them out to him under the terebinth tree and presented it. And the messenger of Elohim said to him, take the meat and the leavened bread and lay them on this rock, and poured out the broth. And he did so. And the messenger of Yahuwah put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand, and touched the meat and the leavened bread. And fire went up out of the rock, and consumed the meat and the leavened bread. And the messenger of Yahuwah went from his sight. And when Gideon saw that he was a messenger of Yahuwah, Gideon said, O Master Yahuwah, for I have seen a messenger of Yahuwah face to face. And Yahuwah said to him, peace be with you. Do not fear, do not die. So, I serve the same Yahuwah of Gideon. We serve the same Yahuwah of Gideon. And he was able to present himself through the messenger of Yahuwah to Gideon on these times. I do believe he can do it once again if we cry out with all our heart. We see a full interaction with a being, a person. It was the messenger of Yahuwah. We see it clearly here, when Gideon asked him to stay and wait for him. And the messenger of Yahuwah answered him, saying, don't worry, I shall stay until you return. It was a physical interaction. And I do believe the messengers of Yahuwah can do exactly the same, that Yahuwah can do exactly the same. And you know, this story of Gideon, we'll see in the next chapter, is so beautiful in the way that YaHuWaH is managing his fears, his doubts, all of that. That is something that is pushing us to understand and learn what we need to do in our times. Because, you know, this world today, this system is becoming so confused. There's much confusion going on. And there's much, you know, deceit going on in the world. And there's so much doubts going on in the world that the only way and the only place that we can find the hope and we can find the truth is in YaHuWaH Elohim. So, you know, as I said, we serve the same Elohim, and He did it with Gideon. Why not? He cannot do it with us in these times. For sure, He can do it if we ask for it and we see His face. So, you know, this was the way that YaHuWaH was treating Gideon in order to remove this fear from his heart, in order to remove the doubts from his heart. And we need to understand how YaHuWaH is working with you and working with me. If we have the fear, if we have the doubts, YaHuWaH is working with you and with me, maybe through the trials, maybe through different ways, in order to remove that fear, in order to prepare ourselves. And this is an important thing to God, that why YaHuWaH was doing this with Gideon, in order to prepare him for the purpose that He assigned him to do. He was allocated and assigned by YaHuWaH and chosen by YaHuWaH to save Israel. You and me had been chosen by YaHuWaH to be part of His people in order to bring His light into this world. And you know, He has been working with us throughout all these years in order to prepare ourselves for the time that we are living, in order to prepare ourselves to fulfill the purpose that YaHuWaH has intended for you and for me. So every time that we are going through difficulties, we need to open our eyes in order to understand what YaHuWaH wants to teach us. We need to understand that if we're going through difficult situations, we need to pray to YaHuWaH to open our ears and our understanding to see what He wants us to teach us, in order to grow with the character of Mashiach, in order to fulfill the purpose that YaHuWaH has put in our heart. This is exactly what we see here in the story of Gideon, how YaHuWaH was treating him, how YaHuWaH was managing the whole situation in order to prepare this person to fulfill the purpose and the will of YaHuWaH. So it says the following in the verse 24. And Gideon built a slaughter place there to YaHuWaH and called it YaHuWaH Shalom. To this day it is still in Ophrah of the Abiezerites. And the same night it came to be that YaHuWaH said to him, Take the young bull of your father, and the second bull of 7 years old, and you shall throw down the slaughter place of Baal that your father has, and cut down the Asherah that is beside it. And you shall build a slaughter place to YaHuWaH your Elohim on top of this rock in an orderly way, and shall take the second bull and offer an ascending offering with the wood of the image which you cut down. And Gideon took 10 men from among his servants, and did as YaHuWaH had said to him. And it came to be, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city too much to do it by day, that he did it by night. And the men of the city arose early in the morning and saw the slaughter place of Baal was broken down, and the Asherah that was beside it had been cut down, and the second bull was being offered on the slaughter place which was built. So we see here how YaHuWaH was continuing using Gideon. And it's important to see that, YaHuWaH came to him and said to him, he didn't have this physical interaction with the messenger of YaHuWaH, at least it's not written in the same way. But even though it says that YaHuWaH said to him, and we spoke about it a few weeks ago, is that this type of relationship And this type of communication is something that we need to develop individually in our own walk with Yahuwah. Maybe he will have different ways to communicate with you than he communicates with me. But it's important to see that the Yahuwah speaking to his people and he's giving instruction of what needs to be done. And the interesting part here, and it's been my journey as well, most probably yours too, is that the first thing that Yahuwah commanded and instructed Gideon to do is to remove idolatry. And for me, in my journey, the first thing that came to my mind and to my knowledge when I started to find this truth is about how much we are in idolatry in our ways of life. Christmas came to the picture. All these pagan holidays that has been adopted by Christianity and religions as some holy things, as they call it, came to the mind, and came to the picture as the first things in my own journey. And I can tell you, and most probably this has been your story as well. This caused a lot of disruption and different aspects of my own life, especially in my inner cycle with family. And because something so strong happened to me. It's like, I was so embedded in the word of Yahuwah that the only thing that I was able to see was the word of Yahuwah. And when I saw all this amazing truth from Yahuwah about idolatry, that was the first thing. I couldn't continue doing it. It was so strong in my heart that I needed to remove it immediately from my life. And started to share this truth with others. And for me, when I saw this, it was so amazing because this is exactly what Yahuwah is doing at first, is to remove idolatry. Because if the people continues in idolatry, he is not going to manifest himself. He won't continue manifesting himself. He saw something in Gideon in the same way that he saw something in you and he saw something in me. And that's why, when he saw something and he chose Gideon in the same way that he was choosing you and me, he was pushing us to remove idolatry from among us. And the good thing is that, even, and that's the something that it should give us strength when we read these time stories, is that even though that Gideon was afraid, he accomplished what he felt in his heart. He heard from Yahuwah to remove idolatry. He was afraid from his family, from the people of the city. So he decided not to do it by day. He did it by night. But at the end, he did it. He removed idolatry. What it speaks to us is that Yahuwah understands that we can be afraid time to time. Yahuwah understands that our emotions sometimes is holding us back to accomplish the purpose of Yahuwah in our lives. And he will help us. He will help us always. The only thing that we need to make sure is that if Yahuwah has put something in your heart, no matter that maybe you will find different ways because you are afraid and you have doubts, that you will do it, that we will do it. Because if we don't do it, this word is speaking to me first and then to you. If we don't do it, he will manifest himself to us. So he is giving us always an opportunity to fulfill the purpose that he has put in our hearts. So let's continue reading. In the verse 29. And they said to each other, "Who has done this deed?" And when they had inquired and asked, they said, "Gideon, son of Joash, has done this deed." And the men of the city said to Joash, "Bring out your son so that he dies, For he has broken down the slaughter place of Baal, and because he has cut down the Asherah that was beside it. So, following the path of Yahuwah is a cause of persecution. Blessed are those persecuted by righteousness' sake. Yahushua said that. We are going to inherit the kingdom of Yahuwah if we follow his righteousness. Even if persecution is coming to our door, if we keep ourselves strong in the way, we are going to inherit the promises of Yahuwah. We need to put this in our heart. We need to save this in our heart in order to find the strength, in the same way that Gideon found his strength in the Ruach. And Joash said to all who stood against him, would you plead for Baal? Would you save him? Let the one who would plead for him be put to death by burning. If he is a mighty one, let him plead for himself, because his slaughter place has been broken down. So that day he called him Jerubbaal, saying, let Baal plead against him, because he has broken down his slaughter place. We see something important and interesting happening. His father was protecting him. And what we were reading before is that all this idolatry of Baal and Asherah was done by his own father. This is what he was written over here. Let me go back. It says, you shall throw down the slaughter place of Baal that your father has. So this was from his father. But even, with this whole situation, the heart of Joash, his father, was touched by Yahuwah in order to defend his own boy. And sometimes we have been going through situations of persecution and disruptions in our inner cycles. But Yahuwah always has a purpose. And I have seen it with my own experience, that he always has a purpose. And sometimes we don't see it at first. And we see it here in this short story that Yahuwah had a purpose. And he started to touch the heart of Joash, his father, in order to defend his son. So, sometimes we grumble so much. And the other day, last week when Jake was mentioning something in the study, in the portion of last week, it touched my heart because I'm going through this situation sometimes that I started to complain that much, things that happen in my day to day, and started to complain and not easy and not find peace in my heart, and because of difficult things that are happening in the day to day. And I found myself complaining too much sometimes, and I get stuck in those complaints. And I remember that this is exactly what Israel did in the wilderness. They were grumbling, complaining, and saying bad things, and they wanted to go back to Mizraim and so on. Our attitude needs to be different. Our attitude needs to be that in everything that we do, in every experience that we live, that we can say that is a bad experience or a good experience, we need to give praise to Yahuwah, that he's given us the opportunity to learn from the bad and from the good, because he's using our own lives and the experiences that we need to go through in order to learn and to make progress. So instead of complaining, we need to understand that Yahuwah is giving us an opportunity to grow in his truth and in his likeness, in his characters. So this is exactly, what I see in the life of Gideon happening. Yahuwah was building his character up. He was helping Gideon. Yahuwah was helping Gideon to grow at the level that he needed him to fulfill his purpose, removing fear and removing doubt, removing idolatry, and also even by him fulfilling the desire and the will of Yahuwah to touch his own family by doing the will of Yahuwah. Let's continue. Now all Midian in the 33 and Amalek and the people of the east were gathered together, and they passed over and encamped in the valley of Israel. Then the Ruach Yahuwah, the Ruach of Yahuwah, the Spirit of Yahuwah, came upon Gideon, and he blew the shofar, and the Abiezrites gathered behind him. And he sent messengers throughout all Menashe, who also gathered behind him. And he sent messengers to Asher, and to Zebulun, and to Naphtali, and they came up to meet them. So we see, an additional aspect that sometimes we forget, and it's so important. What this additional aspect is the Ruach of Yahuwah. Without the Ruach, without the presence of Yahuwah, without the Ruach of Elohim beside us, we are unable to do nothing. The only way that we are going to accomplish the purpose of Yahuwah in our lives by having the Ruach of Elohim. And the amazing promise of Yahushua HaMashiach is that he sent the helper. He sent the Ruach of Elohim. And if you ask Yahuwah to give you of his Ruach, he will do it. I can tell you this by my own experience. When I was seeking that much for the Ruach of Elohim with all my heart, he gave it to me. And in these times that we need to battle this, to fight this battle, this spiritual battle, the only way that we can do it is with the Ruach of Yahuwah. So we need to cry out to Yahuwah. We need to ask for his Ruach. We need to ask for his presence. We need to ask for his deliverance. We need to ask for his power to be manifested in our times. We need to ask him to help us to build up that man and that woman that he intended for us to be. If he decided for you and he decided for me in the same way that he decided for Gideon, it's because he saw something in us. And the only way for that inner us to come out and to be that people of Yahuwah is to let Yahuwah to treat us and to remove all the idolatry and to remove everything that is holding his Ruach to manifest in us in this time. And the only way to let that happen is to cry out, to understand and to see everything that's going on in our lives. That is Yahuwah doing something for his own purpose. If we denied ourselves as Yahushua taught us, we will let the Ruach and the inner person that Yahuwah has created in us to come out and to be that light and that person that Yahuwah has chosen. This is what I see in the life of Gideon. It says in the 36, and Gideon said to Elohim, if you are saving Israel by my hand as you have said, see, I am placing a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is a dew only on the fleece, and it is dry on all the ground, then I shall know that you are saving Israel by my hand, as you have said. Gideon had still doubts in his heart, but even with the Ruach of Elohim by his side, he was having all this questioning. He had all this fear. But he was moving forward and pushing forward, though that he has all these questions and fears. That's why Yahuwah was so patient with him. And through these miracles and through these evidences and through these tests that Gideon and was asking for, that was the way that Yahuwah was strengthening him. if we need to do the same, Yahuwah will have the patience with you and the patience with me. The only thing that we need to remind ourselves is that we need to push forward and move forward in His will. And He will help us. And it was so. And he rose early the next morning and pressed the fleece and ran dew out of the fleece to fill a bowl with water. And Gideon said to Elohim, do not be displeased with me, and let me speak only this time. I was remembering Moshe when he was talking to Yahuwah in the mountain. In the same way, he was somehow bargaining with Yahuwah, telling, but please don't be mad on me, but allow me to ask you for this. This is the way we need to talk to Elohim. He will listen to us. He will hear you and He will hear me. Please let me try only this time with the fleece. Please let it be dry only on the fleece, and let there be dew on all the ground. And Elohim did so that night, and it was dry on the fleece only, but there was dew on all the ground. Too many things in this portion, in this chapter. But the most important thing that I see in this moment is that how Yahuwah was working in Gideon. And I see a reflection of what Yahuwah has been doing in my own life, in this journey. Most probably you can see also yourself reflected in this story. But we need to understand that no matter what's going on, no matter that maybe as Gideon was saying here, let me find it, is that he was doubting, oh my master, if Yahuwah is with us, why has all this come up upon us? And where are all His wonders which our fathers related to us? Yahuwah bring us up from Israel, but now Yahuwah has left us and give us into the hands of the Midian. Every time that we think on this, and we believe in this way, we need to understand that there are promises of Yahuwah. Let me share some promises with you. Let's go to the book of Devarim, chapter 31. And this is exactly what we were studying before in the book of Joshua. And this is a message that Yahuwah gave through Moshe. And it says, be strong and courageous. Do not fear, nor be afraid of them. For it is Yahuwah your Elohim who is going with you. He does not fail you, nor forsake you. We can think and believe that Yahuwah is not with us. We can believe that because of the situations that we are going through and persecutions we are going through, that Yahuwah has, forsake us. But He is faithful to His promises, and He said that He is not going to fail us, nor forsake us. He won't do it. Yahushua said that He will be with us even until the end of the world, and I believe in Him. And even Shlomo in the book of Solomon, in the book of First King, Melachim Aleph. Let's go there. This is in the chapter 8. After he was praying for the dedication of the temple, he said the following words, and it's in the verse 25. Onward, and it says, and he stood and blessed all the assembly of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Baruch atah Yahuwah, blessed be Yahuwah, who has given rest to His people Israel, according to all that He promised. There has not failed one word of all His good word, which He promised through His servant Moshe. Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah our Elohim, is with us, as He was with our fathers. He does not leave us, nor forsake us, to incline our heart to Himself, to walk in all His ways, and to guard His commands and His laws and His right rulings, which He commanded our fathers. And let these words of mine, with which I have made supplication before Yahuwah, be near Yahuwah our Elohim, day and night, to maintain the cause of His servant and the cause of His people Israel, the matter of each day in its day. so that all the peoples of the earth might know that Yahuwah is Elohim. There is no one else. Let your heart therefore be perfect to Yahuwah, our Elohim, to walk in his laws and guard his commands, as at this day. You know, obedience is so important. If we stay strong, walking in the way of righteousness, in the way of Yahuwah, in the path of Yahuwah, he will be with us. He won't forsake us. And he is with us. He has not forsaken us. He is giving us the strength. So before continuing, and just to give a pause to my voice and to drink a sip of water, I will share the music song with you. So please enjoy.
Master of my heart and of my destiny, set me free, protect me from the snare of all my enemies. Hear my plea, one above enthroned upon eternity. You can see as I journey through death's darkened valley. Rise up now and make the wicked flee from me. Save me from the time of trouble that they bring. Riding on the cherubim, he will cleanse the land of sin. Lightnings flash from east to west. He has come for those he left. Yah's a mighty man of war. Those who fear him he restores. Wicked melt at just his word when he comes with his reward. Righteous warriors of the word, light your candles, grab your swords, start the fight, stand in the night, destroy the darkness with his light. I call to thee, master of my heart and of my destiny. Set me free, protect me from the snare of all my enemies. Hear my plea, one above enthroned upon eternity. You can see as I journey through death's darkened valley. Rise up now and make the wicked flee from me. Save me from the time of trouble that they bring. Rise up now and make the wicked flee from me. Save me from the time of trouble that they bring. Riding on the cherubim, he will cleanse the land of sin. Lightnings flash from east to west. He has come for those he left. Riding on the cherubim, he will cleanse the land of sin. Lightnings flash from east to west. He has come for those he left. Righteous warriors of the word, light your candles, grab your swords, start the fight, stand in the night, destroy the darkness with his light.
Yeah, that's a really nice song from Jake, you know. And as the lyrics said, you know, righteous warriors. Let me add something. Righteous, mighty warriors. This is, you know, what the Yahuwah has intended for us, for all of us, you know, that there's no exception here. If he has chosen us, is to be mighty, righteous warriors. If we have he has decided for us to live in these times, because he needs us to be those warriors. And it's totally related to the portion that we see here. You know, he was working with the Gideon in order to prepare him, in order to transform him in this mighty righteous warrior, in order to do his will. And you know, we have that purpose, I think, as well. There's so much things going on in the world, spiritually and also physically, that we need to be strong and righteous warriors in order to fight this battle, this spiritual battle, in order to gear up ourselves with the full armor of Yahuwah, to ask Abba to give us of his Ruach in order to fight this battle. And you know, I think it's time that we start asking Abba very soon, and sooner, even sooner, to be prepared for that purpose, because it's needed. The world need you, need me, to bring somehow the purpose of Yahuwah on this world. In the book of Daniel, and sorry, I'm gonna move a little bit beside the portion. It says that you know, there are many that will lead other many into righteousness, in the chapter 12 of the book of Daniel. And I think that has been the purpose of Israel always, that we need to bring this light of Yahuwah. Yahuwah has been always working through his people. And you know, we are the people of Yahuwah, and we are in these times, in these end times. We need to lead many to the righteousness of the kingdom of Yahuwah. And for that, we need to be those mighty, righteous warriors. So let's continue with the portion. I'm gonna share the screen with you with the scripture, and let's read together the chapter 7. You know, chapter 7 for me is also an interesting one, because you know, we see the journey that Gideon went through in order to become one of the judges, the shofet of Israel, that brought peace to the people of Israel, that Yahuwah brought peace to the people of Israel through him. And it says the following, starting in the verse 1. And Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all the people who were with him rose up early and encamped by the fountain of Harod, so that the camp of Midian was on the north side of them by the hill of Moreh, in the valley. And Yahuwah said to Gideon, the people who are with you are too many for me to give Midian into their hands, lest Israel boast against me, saying, my own hand has saved me. And this is, you know, an amazing statement by Yahuwah. You know, I don't need you. This is what Yahuwah is saying. I don't need all of you. You know, I will show my power. I just need a remnant. And this particular story is so relevant, because I will share something that I found in the, you know, just 1 or 2 minutes before the broadcast in the scripture. And it's totally related to the story, and it's totally related to the remnant. So this is what Yahuwah is saying. I don't need all of you. I don't want you to boast that it's because of your own power that you have done all of this. And you know, this is speaking as well to our own private, personal lives. It's always important that we remember that we are owner of nothing. We own nothing. And it's not like, you know, this new world order that we see that, you know, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, most of you have heard about this, most probably. No, this is fake, you know. This is a fake happiness. The real happiness is because we have never owned a thing. The owner of everything is Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Sebaot. And if we follow his path and we follow his righteousness, even though that we don't owe anything, because he's the owner of everything, we are going to be happy, and we are going to have shalom in our lives, because he's given us to manage his own creation. And I don't know why I'm saying this. I never thought on this. I see my wife even laughing about this because it's true. We see all these fake things happening in order to distract the world from the truth of Yahuwah. Real happiness is coming by the hand of Mashiach, and it's coming from Yahuwah Elohim. So, we see here that Yahuwah is the owner. He doesn't need so many people. He wants to show us that he is all powerful. And if we decide to follow his ways, he will manifest to him in such a mighty way. And I have been telling you in the past, I do believe that all of us that we have not able to see and experience this amazing power of Yahuwah in our lives, in the same way that we have been reading a scripture in the past, I think those signs and all those wonders are coming on the way. And we are going to be able to see with our own eyes his mighty power once again on this earth. It's going to be, before the eyes of the entire world. And this is going to be so amazing. Just waiting for the time, going to be so amazing that the people of the world, by those signs, most of them are gonna be awakened. They are gonna recognize that Yahuwah is Elohim. Unfortunately, as it is written, other group, they are gonna be stubborn and they're gonna continue following the path of wrongness. So let me continue, because I see we have been spending a lot of time and we have read only one chapter. So let's continue reading. It says, verse 3, and now proclaim in the hearing of the people, saying, whoever is afraid and trembling, let him turn back and leave Mount Gilad. And 22,000 of the people turned back, while 10,000 remained. So we see here, that this is something totally related to Torah. You remember there is something that we were studying in Torah, that they were when they were going to fight a battle, they were proclaiming, if somebody was afraid, let's go back. And this exactly was following Torah in this case by the guidance of the Ruach. And the amazing thing is that there were the 22 plus 10,000, 32,000 people were gathered together from all these tribes in order to fight the battle. So 22,000 left, only 10,000 remain. Great number left, So it says in the following, the verse 4, and Yahuwah said to Gideon, the people are still too many. Bring them down to the water, and let me prove them for you there. And it shall be that of whom I say to you, this one goes with you, let him go with you. And of whomever I say to you, this one does not go with you, let him not go. And we see Yahuwah is chosen people. And again, it's just to be humble in our heart, that if we are here, if we are here, and not mean in the virtual house church, if we are here, I mean in the way of Yahuwah. If Yahuwah has took your hand and my hand, has taken us to his true path, because he has chosen us. And this is so important, because even we see here a process of choosing the people in order to fulfill his purpose. And that's why we need to understand obedience is so important. Obedience to his word, obedience to his covenant, obedience to his voice, and not only that, obedience to the purpose that Yahuwah has for you and has for me, especially in these times as we see here in this story happening. So let's continue reading the verse 5. So he brought the people down to the water, and Yahuwah said to Gideon, everyone who laps the water with his tongue, as a dog laps, separate him from everyone who bows down on his knees to drink. We were debating here at home, what is the meaning? I have no answer for this. I do believe there is a secret. There is something beyond this that Yahuwah is trying to show us. But to be direct with you, I don't see it yet. I need to keep praying that just to receive understanding. And it says in the verse 6, and the number of those who lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, was 300 men, and all the rest of the people bowed down to their knees to drink water. And YaHuWaH said to Gideon, by the 300 men who lapped, I save you, and shall give Midian into your hand. Let all the other people go, each to his place. So out of 32,000 men, they went down to 300 men. And YaHuWaH decided, only with this remnant I'm going to save you. The remnant of the people of YaHuWaH. I see a picture, a foreshadow of the remnant of the people of YaHuWaH. A foreshadow even of the 144,000 that we see in the book of Revelation. You know, against all the nations of the world, he's bringing his salvation. So let's continue reading. And the people took food and their shofarot in their hands, and he sent away all the rest of Israel, each to his tent, but held on to those 300 men. Now the camp of Midian was below him in the valley. And it came to be on that night that YaHuWaH said to him, arise, go down against the camp, for I have given it into your hand. But if you are afraid to go down, you and Purah your servant, to the camp. So, YaHuWaH knows our heart. And in this case, YaHuWaH knew that there was still fear in the heart of Gideon. That's why he gave this instruction. What YaHuWaH was saying, now is the time. Go to the battle. I will give Midian into your hand. But if you are still afraid, go yourself and your servant only first to the camp. So he's given it. This is the wonderful thing, and the patience and the love of YaHuWaH to his people, to you and to me. He knows what is in our heart. He knows that we need maybe a pace to go and to walk. This has been my own experience. Sometimes we run, sometimes we walk, sometimes we stop. But the only thing that's important, that we need to move forward, no matter the rhythm. YaHuWaH knows that sometimes our emotions are playing a difficult aspect in our lives. The battle in our mind sometimes is so difficult with our thoughts, our emotions, that is holding us back to move forward in the way of YaHuWaH. So YaHuWaH knew that Gideon was afraid, and he was giving him an option. Okay, if you are still afraid and you don't want to go to the battle with all the army, with these 300 men, go yourself with your servant to see what's going to happen. So let's continue reading. And you shall hear what they say. And after that, let your hands be strengthened. And this is so amazing, this story, And you shall go down against the camp. So he went down with Purah, his servant, to the edge of the formation of fives who were in the camp. He was given this option because he knew he was afraid. He was giving him this option with what purpose? To strengthen his hands. Sometimes we need YaHuWaH to strengthen us. And he's given us the way to receive that strength. The only thing that we need to be so attentive, because everything that's going in our lives, in different aspects, sometimes is YaHuWaH trying to teach us something, as I told you before. And maybe through those situations and experiences, he's given us the strength to our hands in order to do his will. This has been in my heart for many years already. All the sometimes, unfortunately, the bad experiences, the difficult experiences that we are going through life, are, in the moment is so difficult to manage. It's so difficult to understand, and it's so difficult to go through, that we are like this, and we are not able to see and to feel, to think in anything else. But when the time passed, we're able to understand that it was the desire of YaHuWaH in order to help us, to teach us, and to prepare us for something big. So let's learn the lesson. It's not easy, Again, speaking for myself first, then sharing with you. We need to learn the lesson, especially when we're going through difficulties, is that this is an opportunity to grow. This is YaHuWaH giving us an opportunity to, with his chisel, to give us the form in our character, the form that he wants for us, in his likeness, in his image. And this is exactly what we see here going on with Gideon, still going on with Gideon. After he received the Ruach, after he received all these testimonies and tests he asked for YaHuWaH, he still was afraid, you know? So let's continue reading. And it says in the verse 12, and Midian and Amalek and all the people of the east were lying in the valley, as many as locusts, and their camels were as numerous as the sand by the seashore. And Gideon came, and see, a man was related, and this is so beautiful. And see, a man was related a dream to his companion, and said, see, I had a dream, and see, a loaf of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian, and it came to a tent and struck it so that it fell and overturned, and the tent fell down. And his companion answered and said, this is none other than the sword of Gideon, son of Joash, a man of Israel. Elohim has given Midian and all the camp into his hand. And it came to be, when Gideon heard this dream related and its interpretation, that he bowed himself down, and he returned to the camp of Israel and said, arise, for YaHuWaH has given the camp of Midian into your hand. Such a wonderful way of YaHuWaH to treat that fear from Gideon. You know, he gave him the option. If you are still afraid, okay, go by yourself only, because I will strengthen your hands. And the way he did it is such an amazing way, because through the words of others, Gideon was strengthened. You know, as I told you before, we serve the same Elohim. The same Elohim that we are reading here in this portion. We serve the same Elohim. And we are still afraid. YaHuWaH can strengthen our hands, can strengthen our hearts and our mind in order to believe in his promises. The only thing is that we need to understand and we need to learn the lesson is that even with the fear that he has in his heart, Gideon was moving forward. He was not holding back, not stopping. He was moving according to what YaHuWaH was telling him to do. And YaHuWaH was helping him to create in him that heart and that character that he needed. So this is, you know, exactly what we need to do. And it says in the verse 16, and he divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put shofarot into the hands of all them, with empty jars and torches inside the jars. And he said to them, watch me and do likewise. And see, when I come to the edge of the camp, do as I do. And you know, for me, this is a reflection of Yahushua HaMashiach. You know, who is the one saving us? Who is the foreshadow? Who this Gideon is serving as a foreshadow? Is Yahushua HaMashiach. And you know, Yahushua is telling me and is telling you that we need to watch him and do likewise. We need to do as he does. We need to follow his steps. We need to serve YaHuWaH Elohim in the way he, Yahushua HaMashiach, taught us, following the path that Yahushua HaMashiach showed us. You know, this is exactly what I see here reflected in the verse 17. Let's continue reading. And I shall blow with the shofar. You know, who is going to send the messengers to blow the shofar is Yahushua HaMashiach. I and all those with me. Then you shall also blow with the shofarot round about all the camp and say, for YaHuWaH and for Gideon. And Gideon and the 100 men who were with him came to the edge of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch. as they had but newly posted the watch. And they blew with the shofarot and broke the jars that were in their hands. And the three companies blew with the shofarot and broke the jars and held the torches in their left hands and the shofarot in their right hands for blowing. And they cried, a sword for YaHuWaH and for Gidon. And each stood in his place round about the camp, and all the army ran and cried out and fled. You know, it's so wonderful to see how YaHuWaH saved Israel with so few people. You know, just wondering this amazing salvation that is going to be manifest in our days by the hand of Yahushua HaMashiach. It's going to be so big, so great, that, you know, it's written that every eye will see him coming on the clouds. It's going to be that big. And the confusion on the nations is going to be even bigger than the confusion we see happening in the story. That, you know, each stood in his place round about the camp, and all the army ran and cried out and fled. And the 300 blew the shofarot, and YaHuWaH set the sword of each one against the other throughout all the camp. And the army fled to Beit Shittah, towards Sererah, as far as the border of Abel Meholah by Tabat. So this is the power of YaHuWaH Elohim. If he saved Israel in the past, he is going to save Israel in this time. So let's not be afraid, you know. And if we are afraid, because it's normal to be afraid, let's wait on YaHuWaH. YaHuWaH will be patient on all of us if we have the heart for YaHuWaH, if the desire is in our heart to move forward, and we are doing it, no matter that we are in fear. YaHuWaH will help us in the way. And the men of Israel were called from Naphtali, and from Asher, and from all Manasseh, and pursued Midian. Then Gidon sent messengers throughout all the mountains of Ephraim, saying, come down to meet Midian, and capture from them the watering places as far as Beit Barah and the Jordan. So all the men of Ephraim were called and captured the watering places as far as Beit Barah and the Jordan. And they captured, and listen to this, they captured two princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeeb, and killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb. And Zeeb they killed at the winepress of Zeeb, while they pursued Midian. And they brought the heads of Oreb and Zeeb to Gidon beyond the Jordan. Why I'm telling you that to put attention in the chapter 25 is because of a prophecy. A prophecy that I found just a few minutes ago before starting the broadcast that I want to share with you. And it's a prophecy that is related to you, and it's related to me. And it's related to the remnant of Israel. And I'm gonna read it, and this is in the book of Isaiah, Yeshayahu in Hebrew. And it is in the chapter 10. And we're going to start reading in the verse 20. You have it in the screen as well, but I have been inviting you all the time. If you have your physical written word, I have it in front of me. Take it in your hands. There is nothing more beautiful, you know, instead of reading in the screen, at least it's happening to me, to read it directly in the book. You know, the experience at least is different. So let's read it together. It says in the verse 10, and we are going to read, let's see, we will see until when we will read. So let's start the reading. It says, and in that day shall be that the remnant of Israel and those who have escaped of the house of Yaakov never again lean upon him who struck them, but shall lean upon YaHuWaH, the set apart one of Israel in truth. He's talking about the end times. And you can read in context the chapter 10, you will understand that he's talking about the end times. So the remnant of Israel is not going to lean against the ruler of the worlds, of the nations. We are going to lean 100% upon YaHuWaH, the Kadosh of Israel, in truth. And it says in the verse 21, a remnant shall return to the remnant of Yaakov, to the mighty El. For though your people of Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return, a decisive end, overflowing with righteousness. And when every time that I read these two words, this statement, I'm just wonder for that time, a decisive end. It's going to be such an amazing end. For those of us that we have been watching in the past these movies, that we're waiting for the end of the movie, that it needs to be, a wonderful end. This is not going to be a movie. It's going to be real life. It's going to be such a wonderful and decisive end, overflowing with righteousness. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be difficult before. It's going to be a storm, but we're waiting for that overflowing of righteousness, the calm after the storm by the hand of Mashiach. So let's continue. For the Adon YaHuWaH Sebaot, the Master YaHuWah of hosts, is making a complete end, as decided in the midst of all the earth. It's so amazing, especially with all the craziness in the world, and nobody knows what to do. Everybody, is pushing forward with same kind of let's say, agenda in different places of the world, and everybody is so afraid that they don't have the solution. YaHuWaH is the one bringing everything to a complete end in the midst of all the earth, with overflowing righteousness by the hand of Yahushua HaMashiach. It says in the verse 24, therefore, thus said the Master YaHuWaH Sebaot, my people who dwell in Zion, be not afraid of Ashur, who struck you with a rod and lifts up his staff against you in the way of Mizraim. For yet a little, while and the displeasure shall be completed, and my displeasure be to their destruction. And listen to this, and YaHuWaH Sebaot stirs up a lash for him as the smiting of Midian at the rock of Oreb. And as his rod was on the sea, so shall he lift it up in the way of Mizraim. And in that day it shall be that his burden is removed from your shoulders, and his yoke from your neck. And the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing oil. So this is a promise from the end times, and it's a direct connection to the rock of Oreb. We just read this in this portion. These two princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeeb. One of them, Oreb, was captured and was killed in the rock of Oreb. And here YaHuWaH, through his prophet Isaiah, his Nabi Yeshayahu, is telling us about the end times, that he is going to be the same for the remnant of his people, according to the same way that he did it with Oreb in the rock of Oreb. He is going to save Israel once again, as we have been reading in this portion. And that salvation will come through the hand of Yahushua HaMashiach. And it's going to be the last salvation needed, because he's going to establish his people and his kingdom on earth once again. So let's go to the book of Judges, and let's read together the last chapter. And let's see how this story ends. So it says in the verse 1, and the men of Ephraim said to him, what is this you have done to us by not calling us when you went to fight with Midian? And they contended with him sharply. They didn't understand the will of YaHuWaH. They were living according to his own eyes. They didn't understand that was the will of YaHuWaH, to go to battle with just a remnant, a small army. So that was the discontention between the men of Ephraim and Gideon. And he said to them, what have I done as compared with you? Are the gleanings of Ephraim not better than the grape harvest of Abiezer? Elohim has given into your hands the princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeeb. And what was I able to do as compared with you? And when he had said that, the rage toward him subsided. This is also a lesson in our own lives that, when we have this difficult situations, sometimes we don't need to fight with words and we don't need to contend and push back. It's just to be wise with the Ruach of Elohim in order to calm people down on their rage. And this is exactly what we see happening here in these small, short passages in this chapter by the story of Gideon. And it says in the verse 4, and Gideon and the 300 men who were with him came to the Jordan, passing over, weary yet pursuing. And he said to the men of Sukkot, please give loaves of bread to the people who follow me, for they are weary. And I pursuing Zebach and Salmunah, sovereigns of Midian. But the leaders of Sukkot said, are the hands of Zebach and Salmunah now in your hand, that we should give bread to your army? So they were not helping Gideon. They were not trusting in YaHuWaH. They didn't want to see and acknowledge that YaHuWaH was doing something in order to save the people of Israel. They decided to remain in Babylon. This is exactly what's happening. Instead of believing in what YaHuWaH was doing through Gideon. And Gideon said, because of this, when YaHuWaH has given Zebach and Salmunah into my hand, I shall tear your flesh with the thorns of the wilderness with briars. And he went up from there to Penuel and spoke to them in the same way. And the men of Penuel answered him as the men of Sukkot had answered him. So we see two types of people here. The people in the same way that we see two types of ways. The narrow path and the wide and broad path. They decided to go through the wide and broad way that is leading us to perdition. We see this happening all over the scripture. And we are the one making the decision where we are going to put our trust. We are going to trust in YaHuWaH and what he's doing for us. Or we are going to trust in the world and to stay living according to the system of the world. They decided, they were afraid, and the fear didn't allow them to move forward according to the will and the purpose of YaHuWaH. They were fearful to the rulers of the nations. They were fearful to the enemy, And Yahushua said that we need to fear the one that is able to kill the body and the soul in Gehenna. This is YaHuWaH Elohim. This is the only one that we need to fear. So we see the two parallels here for our own understanding. What are the decisions and the type of decisions we need to make? So he spoke also to the men of Penuel, saying, when I come back in peace, I shall break down this tower. And Zebach and Salmunah were at Karkor, and their armies with them, about 15,000 men, all who were left of all the army of the people of the east. Now, those who had already fallen were 120,000 men who drew the sword. Can you imagine? That was such an amazing, a big army. And only 300 men were able to take that big army. Why? Because YaHuWaH fought for them the battle. So Gideon went up by the way of those who dwell in tents on the east of Novach and Yovehah. And he struck the camp while the camp was at ease. And Zebach and Salmunah fled, and he pursued them, and captured the two sovereigns of Midian, Zebach and Salmunah, and shattered the entire army. And Gideon, son of Joash, returned from battle from the ascents of Heres, and captured a youth of the men of Sukkot, and questioned him. So the youth wrote down for him the leaders of Sukkot and its leaders, 77 men. And it is written that YaHuWaH has different books, and he has everything written in those books. It's written during Judgment Day, books are going to be open, and he is going to judge the living and the dead based on what is written on the books. And for me, it's a reflection. This, everything is written. Everything that we have done in our lives, He will judge us according to what is written. And this is exactly what we see the judgment of Gideon according to these people, that they decided a different path, not the path of Yahuwah. And he came to the men of Sukkot and said, See, Zebach and Salmunah, about whom you taunted me, saying, Are the hands of Zebach and Salmunah now in your hand, that we should give bread to your men who are weary? And he took the elders of the city and thorns of the wilderness and briars, and with them he taught the men of Sukkot a lesson. And he broke down the tower of Penuel and killed the men of the city. And he said to Zebach and Salmunah, How were the men whom you killed at Tabor? So they answered, They were like you. Each one looked like the son of a sovereign. And for me, this is also a reflection of all of us. Let's put ourselves this picture that the Gideon is the foreshadow of Mashiach, the child and the son of Elohim. Through Mashiach, we are children of Elohim. Persecution has been throughout history to believers. And the believers are at the image and likeness of YaHuWaH Elohim through His character. So we see here that they are recognizing these two kings, that they have killed people that are similar, look like a son of a sovereign, a children of Elohim. Who is coming and bringing this judgment and righteous judgment is YaHuWaH Elohim by the hand of Yahushua in the end times. And he said, They were my brothers, the sons of my mother. As YaHuWaH lives, if you had let them live, I would not kill you. And he said to Yether, his firstborn, Rise, kill them. But the youth would not draw his sword, for he was afraid, because he was still a youth. Then Zebach and Salmunah said, Rise yourself and fall on us, for as a man is, so is his might. So Gideon arose and killed Zebach and Salmunah, and took the crescent ornaments which were on their camels' necks. So the men of Israel said to Gideon, and this is important, Rule over us, both you and your son, also your son's son, for you have saved us from the hand of Midian. But listen to his answer. But Gideon said to them, I do not rule over you, nor does my son rule over you. YaHuWaH does rule over you. Our tendency as human beings is to follow other people. We see here reflected in these two passages, but we need to remind ourselves always, remember always, that we don't follow men or women. We follow YaHuWaH Elohim. YaHuWaH Elohim, is using men and women in order to help us on the way. But who is the one ruling over us? Is YaHuWaH Elohim, and He has appointed one man to be the King of Kings, and that's Yahushua HaMashiach, the only one that we have to follow. And it's important. Gideon he was clear. He knew about it. He was not taunted by taking the power. Not at all, because he knew and recognized that the only owner of the power is YaHuWaH Elohim. This is what we need to acknowledge all the time as well. And Gideon said to them, I have a request to make of you, that each of you give me the ring from his spoil. For they had rings of gold, because they were Ishmaelites. And they said, We shall certainly give them. And they spread out the garment, and each man threw into it the rings from his spoil. And the weight of the gold rings that he requested was 1,700 pieces of gold, besides the crescent ornaments and the pendants and purple ropes which were on the sovereigns of Midian, and besides the chains that were around their camels' necks. And Gideon made it into a shoulder garment, and set it up in his city, Ophrah. And all Israel went hoarding after it there, and it became a snare to Gideon and to his house. We failed, and we see Gideon making the shoulder garment. It's not clear in the scripture with what purpose he did it. And this an ephod. It could be, and we can think that he made something that was intended for priests. because it's the same word in Hebrew, it's an ephod. But the point is that, the people of Israel again fell into idolatry. And we know that what happened when we depart from the way of Yahuwah, the curses of Torah are coming upon the people. So this is exactly what we see happening at the end of this passage. Let's continue reading and we will see it. I mean, thus Midian was humbled before the children of Israel, and they lifted their heads no more. And the land had rest for 40 years in the days of Gideon. And Jerubbaal, son of Joash, went and dwelt in his own house. And Gideon had 70 sons who were his own offspring, for he had many wives. And his concubine, who was in Shechem, also bore him a son. And he gave him the name of Abimelech. And Gideon, son of Joash, died at a good old age, and was buried in the burial site of Joash his father, in Ophrah of the Abizerites. And it came to be, when Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel again went whoring after the Baals, and made Baal Berith their mighty one. Thus the children of Israel did not remember Yahuwah their Elohim, who had delivered them from the hands of all their enemies round about, nor did they show loving commitment to the house of Jerubbaal, Gideon, according to all the good which he did for Israel. And this is, for me, the main lesson. Let me put the full camera here. Is that Yahuwah has been doing so great things with his people throughout history. Is that people has been failing all over the time. And we can understand this, sin is in our flesh. And the only time that the sin is going to be removed is at the time when our bodies are going to be transformed or resurrected. So the point is that if we don't recognize that we have been chosen by Yahuwah to live a righteous life, we are going to fall down all the time in the same way that Israel was falling. And just Yahuwah was raising up these judges all the time in order to save Israel, in order to show them the way they need to walk. And it's so amazing to see the love of Yahuwah, that even though in the middle of idolatry, or in the middle of Israel departing from the way, Yahuwah is giving them always an opportunity. And we need to acknowledge that this is only the compassion of Yahuwah upon his people. And, he has raised up, as I said at the beginning of this broadcast, the final Savior, Yahushua HaMashiach. He is the definitive Savior, that is going to transform the world. So we need to remember and understand that Yahuwah, through Yahushua HaMashiach, He's given us salvation even from sin. And in His second coming, He's going to give us salvation from the system of the world by establishing the kingdom of Yahuwah here on earth. So, let's keep this story about Gideon in our heart. There are so many things that the Ruach has been guiding us to talk about this today in this broadcast. That especially that Yahuwah knows our heart. If we are afraid, He will work with us in order to transform us in the person that He intended for us to be from the very beginning. But only we are obedient to His word, moving forward with His will and His desire. But we need to remember as His people that we need to remain ourselves in the true path. We need to remember what Yahuwah has been doing for Israel throughout history. And we need to remember what Yahuwah will do for His people in these times. As I was sharing with you in the YaHuWaH Jeremiah chapter 23, that time will come very soon that we are not going to tell anymore, as Yahuwah lived, that they took the children of Israel out of slavery in Mizraim. We are not going to say that anymore.
we are going to remember how Yahuwah took the remnant of his people out of the four corners of the earth in order to bring them to their own land, in order to establish, finally, overflowing righteousness by his kingdom, by the hands of Yahushua here on earth. So, brothers and sisters, we took more time, but it was good to take more time. There are so many things, in these stories. They're speaking to my heart, and I really hope that it's speaking to your hearts too. The time we are living are difficult, but also so interesting at the same time. And we need to keep our mind and our eyes in the interesting part, not on the difficulties that are bringing, knocking our doors. Because if we put our attention, our mind in the interesting part, and what's the interesting is that, we see the fulfillment of the word. We see YaHuWaH Elohim fulfilling his word. And thank you all. We just saw it in this portion. Gideon was so afraid. He needed evidences that Yahuwah was with him, evidences to strengthen him. And what are the evidences we see now in our times? Is this amazing book, the word of Yahuwah, being fulfilled in front of our eyes. Something that was written even more 2,000 years ago, and even more throughout history, has been preserved for so long until this time. And the only fact that we are seeing it being fulfilled, each one of the words that we have reading for so many years being fulfilled in our eyes, in front of our eyes, is a kind of a Gideon moment, if I can say so. It's a Gideon moment for you and me, that when he was asking for the fleece to be fully wet, or when he was asking, for something else, just to confirm that Yahuwah was with him, this is our evidence. The evidence is that you and me are following his path, that we have been awakened, that everything that's going on in the world is being written here, and we see it being fulfilled. It's the evidences, and the interesting part that I said, that it should strengthen us, that we serve YaHuWaH Elohim, the creator of everything, the owner of everything. And only this should be enough for us to be strengthened. And if it's not enough, but we continue walking and moving forward in the way of Yahuwah, Yahuwah will have compassion on us. He will give us more evidences, like the dream that he was able to hear and the interpretation. And it was like an amazing moment. Can you imagine that you are going because you were afraid? You took the second option, and because you were afraid, and you went to this point, and you're hearing a guy telling another person about the dream, and this other person talking about you, that you are the fulfillment of that dream. Yahuwah can do things like that if we need it. Yahuwah will do things like that if we need it. We just need to keep pushing forward to the goal. And that goal is the kingdom of Yahuwah. I'm just seeing the chat now. And yes, a Gideon moment. That's what we are needed. That's what we are living now. A Gideon moment. And we will have more of those moments in the coming days, in the coming months, in the coming weeks, in the coming, days. We just need to be strong in the word of Yahuwah. We need to be that mighty, righteous warriors. So, brothers and sisters, thank you so much. We extended a little bit more. It was good. It was a blessing. Like always, inviting you to come and join us next week in Virtual House Church. If you have the chance to join to the Discord link, in order to continue with the fellowship, I know that Karen and the other moderators have been posted the link in the chat, so you are invited to go there. So just to bless all of you and to thanks YaHuWaH for being with us with his presence today. So as always, let's put the Aaronim blessing to finish the broadcast. But just pray to YaHuWaH to be with you in this. The end of the Shabbat is not ending yet here at my home, in my country, but also to be with us during this new week that is starting tomorrow. Amazing things are coming on the way. Let's keep praying for each one on the body. So, let's pray for YaHuWaH to be with us always. So thank you once again. YaHuWaH be with you all. Let's listen to Aaronic blessing and see you next week in the next Shabbat in the next Virtual House Church. Shalom.
יברכך יחוה וישמרך יאר יחוה פניו לך וחונקה יישא יחוה פניו לך לך שלום יישא יחוה פניו לך ויעשה לך שלום ויעשה לך שלום ויעשה לך שלום. YaHuWaH bless you and keep you. YaHuWaH make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. YaHuWaH lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. YaHuWaH make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. YaHuWaH lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
YaHuWaH te bendiga y te guarde. YaHuWaH haga resplandecer su rostro en ti y tenga de ti compasión. YaHuWaH alce su rostro sobre